Fresh off another round of awful polling, desperate Democrats are trying anything to get their party's mojo back. Cory Booker going from a stand-a-thon to a scream-a-thon, raging against his fellow Dems for being complicit with Trump.
This, to me, is the problem with Democrats in America right now, is we're willing to be complicit to Donald Trump. It's time for Democrats to have a backbone. It's time for us to fight. Don't question my integrity. Don't question my motives. I'm standing for Jersey. I am standing for my police officers. I'm standing for the Constitution, and I'm standing for what's right. And dear God, if you want to come at me that way, you're going to have to take it up with me, because there's too much on the line right now in America.
But it may be Senator Spartacus who needs the wake-up call. Not everyone on the left is raving about his ranting.
There's a way to change a bill, and then there's a way to get in the opening segment of Morning Joe and on the front page of the New York Times. And Cory chose the latter rather than the former. He knew if he did this, it would be a viral moment.
There is a lot to say here, and I'm going to start with Jessica, because the bill that he's talking about was out of the Judiciary Committee. It passed unanimously. He wasn't there. So Correct. Then he decided to trash everybody, but he did it for a very specific reason, I think.
What do you?
He makes money. He gets a ton of small dollar fundraising from these kind of antics. And that's why he doesn't care about the party. He will go ahead and throw them under the bus if it puts him ahead a little bit.
Well, I definitely think there's a fundraising element, and he's still high off the 25 hours straight that he did a couple months ago, right? And was widely praised for that. And yes, the Democratic base wants you to fight harder, but not to fight against Amy Klobuchar and Catherine Cortez Masto, who are the two women that he was going after. And they pushed back, I think, pretty well, saying, first of all, you didn't bother to show up for the vote. You didn't offer amendments, and that we've sent these bills through the committee before. And just because we don't like Donald Trump and we want to oppose him doesn't mean that all of the business of the country can halt. This is about funding law enforcement. And think of the headlines of Democrats vote to defund police. We lived through that once. That didn't really go well. And I also I like Cory Booker. It's not about that, but someone like Cortez Masto, who wins in a swing state, I always say defer to the person that runs the really hard races and wins. Like, you're running in New Jersey. I understand it has gotten a little bit redder, but it's still a blue state. You're going to get reelected. It's the same thing with Jasmine Crockett. You can say whatever you want if you're D+30. Like, look to the people who actually need to save their seats.
Jesse, he's probably lucky that there were no binders around when Klobuchar was watching all this.
You know who doesn't yell? Trump.
Right.
Bush never yelled. Reagan never yelled.
Obama didn't yell.
Obama didn't really yell. Real
he yelled at you.
male
whispered.
Leaders don't raise their voice like that. And people always say Trump's crazy, he's chaotic, he's this brash. When do you ever see him go, ah? You never see him do that. He's usually in control. Men are supposed to be guided by reason. They're supposed to exhibit tranquility. They're not supposed to let their emotions get the best of them. That's what happens with women. Women are, that's you. That's what women do.
Jesse.
Cory Booker should not be acting like that on the floor of the U.S. Senate. And I'm not afraid of him. Why is he acting like, what, do you want to do something? What, do you want to do something about it? And who's he talking to? He's talking to a female colleague. That's crazy.
What if you run into him at a bar?
See, I don't
think Jesse goes to those bars.
Greg, Senator Booker does seem a little thirsty.
That he does. You know, can you put that video up just on the side? Just imagine, you know what he reminds me of when I'm looking at this? Every video on Instagram of somebody on a plane in the aisle, like yelling, and there's people up there looking at him going, dude, just sit down. We're all gonna have to get off the plane if you don't. And he just goes, my seat won't go down. He talks too, like, I've said this before, like he just took a hot bite of pizza, so his mouth is always like, I have my mouth, it's just burning. I want to talk about Trump, but my mouth is on fire, and I'm just tired of it. Don't come near me. I want to know, who does he want us to fight against, and who is he fighting for? If it's all about Trump, I mean, can you get any more intense against Trump than you already were. The guy was nearly assassinated twice. I don't know exactly what you want the party to do. You know, this is the problem with Trump taking over the lane of common sense. It leaves everybody else on the outside. So Trump has the 80, they've got the 20, and he's stuck somewhere in the wilderness trying to figure out what he is, and he doesn't know what he is. So you have all of these crazy, distraught Delta passengers screaming about something. Don't talk to that man.
If the Democrat who figures out how to co-opt Trump on an issue and work with him on something is the one that will be able to succeed. I just came up with that. But
Nice.
I want to ask you, he said he's doing this for the cops. He's doing this for the cops of New Jersey.
Yeah, ISA cops. What happened? Right?
Good point.
So to me, Greg, he's more like it's like professional wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, Sergeant Outrage in this corner from the wilds of New Jersey. But here's the thing. It's so performative, and there is a quote that always comes home to me with stuff like this. Ernest Hemingway said, "Don't confuse movement with action," right? This is not action. This is movement. All of this noise, all of this outrage, and it goes to the idea that with the left, and I'm not saying Democrat, I mean the left, the far left, who really is where the energy in the party is these days. It's all about the process. It's about the thing that you see. It's about the journey. It's not about the arrival. And the arrival is what matters to the American people. And just to be a wet blanket here, that kind of thing where we're already where we are, they've had at least 2, probably more, attempted assassinations on Donald Trump. This guy's a lawmaker, right? Your job is to make laws, not noise, not threats, and not to tell people out there, fight harder. And if you're a nutbag someplace out there and you hate Donald Trump and you hate the Republicans, and this guy is not saying we need to pass this law, we need to, in other words, he's not acting like a statesman. He's just saying fight, fight, fight. Well, that message is received by a lot of people out there. And then we're all supposed to say, no, it's not what he meant. It's not what he meant. He's got to be a lot more responsible than this because he's a senator now. This is not like he's he's on the school board someplace. He's a prominent guy. Yeah, he talks like he's got peanut butter on the roof of his mouth or whatever. But the bottom line is people listen. And it's an important thing. And you're up there on camera. Everybody's listening. You're one of a limited number of senators, right? We only got 100. And you're saying fight, fight, fight all the time. I think it's the wrong message. Be an adult, be a statesman.
Watch for his fundraising numbers next quarter, but they spiked.
Who else said fight, fight, fight?
Yep.
He's stealing Trump's speech.
Yep.
Well, thank you for undercutting my point.
After he was shot.
Yes.
All right, up next, the New York Times has a new nickname for Trump's immigration enforcement. They're calling it Juan Crow.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.